That right there, my friends and foes, is the setting of Sunspot 3088. It's not quite done yet. It's still producing some flares, and we'll be covering that and lots more today on the Daily Space Weather. And welcome to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. We've got a sudden uptick in the radio flux. Several M-class flares happening, including a double, which you can see pretty well in this composite imagery. One very large sunspot moving into the Earth-facing zone. It's at quite a high latitude also. We'll see a decrease in the sunspot number today. There's your colorized magnetogram from SDO. And a little uptick in earthquakes. First, we'll take a look at volcanoes. Semaru is still erupting. It's producing a 14,000-foot ash plume. I think that's an uptick at Semaru. Let us know in the comments if you know more about it than I do. Pavlov on the Alaskan Peninsula there, explosively erupting as well. 10,000-foot ash plume from Pavlov. Fuego down in Guatemala exploding. 15,000-foot ash column from Fuego. 20,000-foot ash plume from Nevado del Ruiz as Nevado del Ruiz explodes in Colombia. Sangay exploding, flight level 210. 21,000-foot ash plume over Ecuador. And Sabancaya exploding as well. 24,000-foot ash plume. Don't pole vault the caldera, it's exploding. Flight level 240 over Peru from Sabancaya. Little uptick here in seismicity as well. The most violent earthquake of the past 24 was this 5.9 off the coast of Indonesia. There is a location of that 5.9 magnitude quake that came in at 22:34 Universal Time yesterday. It was at depth also, 169 kilometers estimated depth for that quake. Series of quakes here around the Fiji region as well, including that 5.1 at extreme depth, over 560 kilometers estimated depth. And some American quakes as well. Let us know in the comments if you felt any of those quakes in the U.S. Some around Texas, California, and off the coast of Oregon. Otherwise, things pretty calm here. Second largest quake was this 5.6 near Fiji and Tonga. That one came in at 1848 last night. That's 1848 Universal Time. And interestingly, we did see a foreshock here. That was at 34.8 kilometers on a 5.5 magnitude quake. And then this 5.9 right in the same spot. Wait a minute, it's showing it at 17.6 kilometers. Did I misread that? 17.6 kilometers. Oh, 170 kilometers west-southwest of Pariaman Island. Not a deep quake. So actually closer to the surface than that foreshock. The foreshock was at 34.8 kilometers, and then the largest quake, 17.6 kilometers. That one came in at 3:29 this morning on August 29th. Papua New Guinea also seeing a 5.1 magnitude quake. Again, let us know in the comments if you felt any of those quakes. A little bit of shaking happened in Hawaii as well. Let's get back to some solar imagery here. Here's some composite SDO imagery, and before we move on, let me just check the life of the stream. Good morning, Tin Man 1057. Thanks for leaving a comment. So this is 335 plus 171 angstroms. Again, Sunspot 3088, not quite done yet, and this huge prominence showing up there as the magnetic fields have a lot of suspended plasma out there in those loop-like features. The radio flux, interestingly, is listed at 252 solar flux units, which I find a little bit unbelievable because that would put it, well, that would put it all the way up here off of the chart. So I don't know how that would be. I think that's some kind of an erroneous reading. There were some very high-level radio outbursts yesterday, and I have a feeling the reading was somehow erroneously recorded as 252. Somehow I doubt it's going to be above 130. But in any case, that's what it's being listed as. 252 solar flux units is the listed radio flux there at the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard. NOAA thinks we've exceeded the maximum radio flux of the last cycle. Also, NOAA forecasting some geomagnetic storms here, and we haven't seen that yet today. Maybe that coronal mass ejection moving a little more slowly, or more likely missing. We didn't really put out major alerts about that because it didn't look like a serious impact in the first place. Also, a coronal hole high-speed stream seems to be showing up here once again, like a separate one. Some elevated solar wind speeds there. Again, that radio flux number, if that was really at 252, it would be off of this chart. You can see this chart here only goes up to 200. It would be like up here somewhere. And let's take a look at Earth's geospace for the past 4 hours. This is magnetohydrodynamic pressure model by the Space Weather Modeling Framework. And not seeing as much activity as NOAA forecasted. Again, we didn't put up any major warnings about that. Those looked like glancing blows, if anything, if not entire misses. That's the last 4 hours. That was Earth's magnetic moment from space. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. Geospace delta B referring to changes in Earth's B field. The B field being the field going through the magnet, this magnet being the Earth. And that's the last 4 hours. Pretty calm. There have been some aurorae reported. We did at least share one auroral series of at least one auroral image on the Twitter page, twitter.com/smashomash. So a brief period of geomagnetic unrest is all we saw. I sort of doubt we'll see very much more than that unless the magnetic fields suddenly shift. And let's take a look at the real-time solar wind. So it looks like there's a second coronal hole high-speed stream here showing up. We saw the density come up to 20 protons per cubic centimeter and then drop down as the velocity rises. So another standard issue coronal hole high-speed stream there. Current conditions are 519 kilometers per second for the solar wind speed. Solar wind density about 9.6 protons per cubic centimeter. We also did see a little increase in the plasma temperature there, that bottom green pane. And again, if we see this shift, if we see this top pane here, this red line, if we see that shift into a strong negative signal, we may see some more geomagnetic unrest or geomagnetic storm conditions. Otherwise, kind of unlikely. Unless we see a significant CME strike. Maybe it was modeled as faster than it really was. Earth has moved into a North Pole current sheet, or it's in the process of doing it now. There are your GOES magnetometers for the past 3 days. Those readings from the GOES 16 and GOES 17 near equatorial satellites. And here's the heliospheric current sheet. Again, as forecasted yesterday, North Pole current sheet just arriving here. Keep in mind this data is about an hour old. That's the top view ecliptic plane field plot, part of the National Sunspot Observatory's Gong 2 data. Here's our line of sight field plot. Here the sun's B field is shown in blue. As we watch the progression of the solar polar field reversal process, we're seeing North Pole-oriented trans-equatorial coronal holes rotating in here, shown in green, as some red ones rotate toward the west. Here's the last 24 and 211 angstroms. So this is a South Pole oriented coronal hole, and these are North Pole oriented coronal holes. And let's continue on to sunspots. So at the moment, sunspot 3089 is by far the most interesting sunspot. It's very big, it's very magnetically complex. Let's take a look at that in close-up glory at 15 frames per second. A little bit of growth happening there, but not sufficient growth to put the radial flux at 252 solar flux units. Some great imagery there from the SDO continuum, and let's move to flares. Again, we've seen some M-class flares coming from Sunspot 3088, including this double. This double right here, that was an interesting solar flare. So let's see, 3 M-class flares in the past 24 hours. And here's some more imagery. This is 131 angstroms. Let's add 94. And let's get a little closer with some additional composite imagery here. 131 plus 94 angstroms. And the show might not be quite over for this yet. There could still be some large flares coming from that group, as there's a lot of suspended plasma there, which could certainly transmit some flares. So we have seen some relatively minor proton events here, causing some polar radio blackouts. And those have now once again subsided. Here's your star chart. We show it daily. And if you're up before dawn, you may see Jupiter, Mars, and Venus up there near the ecliptic. That is the yellow line on our star chart. The blue line there, the galactic plane. As Cygnus is approaching a setting phase. Next, the solar system forecast. We've got a crescent waxing moon. Let's advance this 1 week. And there's where things will be in a week. Mercury coming back around. Venus on the lonely side of the solar system. All the other planets now on the Earth side. And we'll look at some coronagraphs here. No additional earthly directed coronal mass ejections likely on the way, although there may be some hitting in the next few hours. The likelihood of that is dropping over the next about 24 hours. I think they may have modeled that one coronal mass ejection a little faster than it really was, but in any case, that's yesterday's coronagraph imagery. Oh, that's today's coronagraph. This is yesterday's coronagraph imagery. There was a pretty decent CME there. It'll be missing Earth to the west. Right there, you can see that happening. And here's today's imagery. One small CME there, headed off to the northeast. And we've got some additional imagery here for your viewing pleasure from Stereo A and from the Soho Lasco C3. Now we paused this because there's a great little feature there, this spiral looking bit of ejecta. And you can see the perspective there. For your new viewers, Earth would be off in this direction from Stereo A, and it would be behind you if you were at Lagrange point 1, the location of the Soho Lasco C3. It's about 1 million miles toward the Sun at a gravitational equilibrium point, which it orbits. Stereo A located here, trailing the Sun orbitally speaking, seeing space weather ahead, hence the term Stereo A. So I just figured I would pause that there. We'll let that play through. Yesterday's interesting coronal mass ejection, nothing more than a light show, folks, nothing headed toward the Earth. From that CME. We'll also show that from our HelioViewer.org movie. We used the LASCO C2 and C3 there, as well as some SDO imagery. That's the last 24 hours of coronagraph and SDO 304 angstroms. And before we continue on, let's just make sure that everything's going the way we expect it to. Thanks for leaving a comment, Mama D1K and Acrylic D. Next, we're going to look at filaments. Filaments from the El Teide, Spain ground-based solar observatory. And there are still some filaments there. Likelihood of coronal mass ejections still kind of high here. Likelihood of solar flares still very, very high. We've got this significant sunspot group here. That's 3,089, I believe. And this one isn't fully set yet. It's still got a lot of plasma suspended out there, and that could indeed transmit large flares. So here we've got the GOES 16 SUVI. That's the last about 2.5 hours. You can see that large prominence suspended out there by the magnetic field of Sunspot 3088. We'll zoom out. This is typically the wavelength we stream live when we do stream live on Twitch. A couple 24-hour stream. That's 24-hour and a 17-plus hour stream have been recently done. We may have to do that again today. And here's the last 24 in composite, 304 plus 171 angstroms. And let's move to bonus features. We've got some satellite charging hazards here. The kind of charging hazards you see on the surface of satellites, caused by low energy electrons. Some there over places like Mexico, moving into the central Pacific Ocean, and some more minor charging hazards there over the Caribbean. There's your GOES electron flux over the past 3 days. And we see low levels as we typically do during coronal hole high-speed streams. Here's the forecast model. And you can see a big dip there in the electron flux, as you do when coronal hole high-speed streams show up. There's the 1-year chart, coming off the highest levels we've seen all year, just a few days ago. We'll also show the animation of the F ionosphere layer. It's located at about 300 kilometers of altitude. Here's the vibrational frequency up there. And that stopped playing because reasons. Because reasons, folks. And we'll also show the anomalygram. That's anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. As we approach the most geomagnetically active month of the year, September. Some major fireworks likely coming in September, folks. It is another month in which the sun will not kill you. People might kill you, but the sun's not going to kill you. Now, if it shuts down the power grid, it might cause people to kill you. The sun's not going to kill you. Maybe if you're an astronaut. Anyway, there's 10:15 universal time. And here is the total electron content forecast, and we're seeing a huge blob of electrons. You'll see right at the end here, a large expansion there of the total electron content. Huge areas of massive GPS errors at the moment. And the electron content getting a little bit flattened out there. Those are the free electrons between your GPS satellite and your handset. Huge electron anomalies happening there. And that's the free electrons from ground level up to about 12,500 miles of altitude, which is where your GPS satellite is located. How about the latest solar intensity gram? We've got setting sunspots, but the real place to watch is this sunspot group right here, Sunspot 3089. So there are the magnetic fields. It's quite magnetically complex. It's certainly beta gamma class. And here's the full disk. This area up here, not a sunspot. At least not yet. Could be turning into one. But at the moment, not so much. And let's bring up some more composite imagery here. How about 304, 211 plus 171 to close out the space weather portion of today's video. That's yesterday and today so far. So before we move into meteorology, take a moment to press like and subscribe. Press the share button. Leave us a comment. Tell your friends and foes about us. Maybe visit the playlists. If you haven't seen the playlist, there are videos about things besides space weather, like terms defined. There are some music videos, like Shut Up Fauci. Don't forget smashomash.org presents the sun videos. And there are some live streams and so on you can check out as well. Cosmology segments. Part of the reason why I study the sun in the first place is because of cosmology. You're also invited to improve your health by becoming a member of the American Better Health Organization, otherwise known as SureMed. It's only $20 a month for a base membership, and the Doctors by Phone service by Teladoc is worth the $20 a month alone. You also get counselors by phone, virtual veterinarians, dental discounts, vision discounts, and lots more. It is certainly worth the $20 a month. And if you add Plus or Premier membership, you can get accident and critical illness insurance. Links below the video and on the homepage at smashomash.com. Make sure you install the Twitch app to see when we go live, twitch.tv/smashomash. And make sure you follow us on Twitter. I don't know what's going on. Our Twitter followers have actually increased. Thanks to everybody who's interacted over there on Twitter. Always some interesting and amusing conversations happening. If you don't have a Twitter account, create one. And there we've got some aurora that we've shared there in Saskatoon. I think it's North Dakota. I don't know. Twitter.com/smashomash if you want to support the channel via subscription services. Become a member of the Smash team at the gold or silver level. We've recently put up a GIF animation nobody else gets to see. You got to have a paid subscription to see that. Smashomash.com/smash team, our personal subscription services site. We are still on Patreon as well. You can find links on the homepage. Today's featured product is Make America Not Suck Again. And we're doing a little something here and there to make America not suck again. Also making Earth not suck again. I'm wearing the hat and I'm wearing the shirt. Mansa, if you think it's a political slogan and I'm involved anyway politically, think again. Never belonged to a political party, likely never will. And the reason we're saying make America not suck again is because America leads the way. Our finest days lie ahead, folks. If you think there's a better place to invest than the U.S., think again. If you think the fiat currency, Federal Reserve notes, known as U.S. currency, are going to be replaced by some other world currency, I ask you which one. because the euro, the yen, the yuan, and all the rest of the major global fiat currencies are simply worse. So yes, inflation is an issue in the US. If you go someplace else, guess what? It's a worse issue. So, of course, there are issues. And if you find that America's been sucking lately, it's up to you to do your part and make America not suck again. Think global, act local, make America not suck again. Tell your friends and foes about it. Pick up some merch. Perhaps give Smash staff a raise by doing so. You would indeed be giving her a raise by doing so, since she's paid just this side of nothing for us to put the content up as well. If you visit the links below the video, you'll find our Redbubble shop in order of best selling. If it's too controversial for you, then just move on. That's the order of best selling. I don't know what to tell you. That's just the way it is. Again, links on the homepage at smashamash.com as well as below the video. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. And congratulations on realizing that the channel exists. Hit us up on social media if you want to interact, if you've got images of the aurora and so on to share. Hit us up on Instagram, or better yet, on Twitter. And let's get into the realm of meteorology. And we'll be making a transition here from space to weather. So as far as space weather goes, it's a dud so far. The auroral ovals, there you go. Not so exciting at the moment. So unlikely to be seeing aurorae here unless you're in places like northwestern Canada. Some parts of Alaska there, some likelihood of seeing some aurorae. And let's get back to the realm of surface winds. So here are the surface winds of the eastern world. Here are the jet streams of the eastern world. Yes. Jet stream blowing backward over the northern Indian Ocean and parts of the western Pacific. Here are the jet streams of the Americas. Some backward jet stream here over the Atlantic as well. Surface winds are looking like this. Surface winds of the central world are looking like this. And who do you think will win the Vuelta a España? Let us know in the comments. And there are the jet streams of the central world. Here's your weather.gov map. We've got some flash flood what? Excessive heat. Those must be excessive heat watches. Anyway, if your county's lit, head to weather.gov and click your county. Got some heat advisories in northern New York there. And some flood watches there in Texas and New Mexico. Weather.gov if you need to obtain your county's warnings. Now we're going to show the total accumulated precipitation forecast here. It was not available when we did show prep, so we're breaking out the GIF animation now. So this is the GFS model for the next 72 hours. And the east and south of the country are going to receive some rain, and the north and west of the country are not. Quite a demarcation line there between rainy portions and non-rainy portions. And some heavy rains expected there for portions of Texas, possibly exceeding 4 inches. Again, that's the GFS 72-hour total accumulated precipitation forecast shown in inches. Some rains of over 6 inches forecasted there for Mexico. Here's your windy.com pressure map. And what else can we look at here? Let's look at something else. How about Carbon monoxide concentration. Yes, carbon monoxide. Oh my God, you're going to asphyxiate. Oh my God. There's a lot of carbon monoxide. Don't worry, folks. 950 parts per billion aren't going to kill you. It will show you where some forest fires are located. And let's move to our NASA GOES lightning mapper. There's where the lightning's been striking. Oklahoma seeing some significant lightning storms happening there. And let's look at a real-time lightning map from lightningmaps.org. I visit it regularly when I hear thunder, and we've got some lightning here moving into Iowa there, right near Omaha. Some thunder rolling into Omaha. Also some lightning in northern Spain. Let's hope no cyclists are getting struck. It's a good thing that they're riding carbon bikes nowadays instead of metal ones. Next, your U.S. radar map here from AccuWeather.com. There's your animated Doppler radar map. We're going to be focusing on the lower 48 here. Some heavy storms there moving across Lake Huron. Detroit is about to get hit. And later in the day, Toronto is in the crosshairs. Here's your shortwave radiation map showing clouds and fog. We've got some satellite problems there. Some anomalous looking data showing up, caused by some of those charging hazards, most likely. And the water vapor map looking like it's showing some anomalies as well. A little bit of missing data, I think, there on the water vapor map. There's a lot of cloud nucleation happening there in the Gulf, and rapid rain as well. Anyway, here's your recap. That's the latest in terms of vertical motion of water droplets in the air column. Ground-based Doppler radar systems. There is the satellite-based shortwave radiation map. And there is water vapor. And that is where we will be closing out the video. Thanks for tuning into the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Thanks again, everybody who left comments during the live stream. Don't be a stranger. Don't forget to press like and subscribe. Tell your friends and foes about the channel. We'll be back soon to keep an eye on it. And may that solar wind be at your back.